In a small town called Blackwater, there stood an old abandoned house with the number 13. The house was infamous among the locals for being haunted, as many who dared to enter it had disappeared over the years. Stories circulated about screams echoing in the night, flickering lights and ghostly figures appearing in the windows. Some even claimed to hear whispers in ancient languages coming from within when the streets were silent. Legend had it that anyone who entered never returned, and if they did, they were never the same. A group of friends, Layla, Ahmed and Sarah, decided to explore the house to prove that these stories were just myths. They brought cameras and recording equipment, determined to document everything. Layla was the brave one leading the group, Ahmed was the logical thinker who relied on scientific reasoning, and Sarah was the skeptic, but her curiosity pushed her to join. As they arrived, they noticed that the air around the house was unnaturally cold, despite the warm weather. The trees surrounding the house were bare and lifeless, as if they had died long ago. The house itself was dark, with shattered windows and a cracked door. The number 13 was painted in faded red on the front door, resembling dried blood. Above it, a carved wooden inscription read, "Whoever enters here leaves their soul behind." Cautiously they stepped inside. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper and the floor creaked with every step. In the first room they found an old wooden chair overturned, as if someone had left it in a hurry. On the wall, there was an old family portrait, but the faces had been violently scratched out. Below the portrait, a handwritten note read, "They took her. Do not open the door." On the upper floor they discovered a locked room with a rusty key nearby. After some effort, they managed to open it. The room was completely empty except for a large mirror hanging on the wall. Its wooden frame was carved with strange symbols, resembling an ancient ritual. Layla approached the mirror and noticed something unsettling. Her reflection lagged behind her movements. A cold chill ran down her spine, but she dismissed it. Ahmed, who was checking the camera, noticed something terrifying. When Layla stood in front of the mirror, a dark shadow appeared behind her in the reflection. Yet there was nothing behind her in reality. Before he could warn her, they suddenly heard the sound of heavy footsteps echoing down the hallway. As night fell, the terror escalated. Footsteps echoed through the halls and doors slammed shut on their own. Suddenly, Sarah vanished without anyone noticing. Frantically searching for her, they stumbled upon her shoe, abandoned in the middle of the hallway, as if she had vanished mid-step. On the wall beside it, a chilling message was written in blood. "She is no longer here." Panic set in. They rushed toward the front door, but it wouldn't budge, as if something was holding it shut. Their phones had no signal, leaving them completely isolated. Desperate, they ran back to the mirror room where they found Sarah standing in front of it, whispering incomprehensible words. When they tried to approach her, she suddenly turned around, her eyes completely black. She let out a blood-curdling scream in a voice that was not hers before collapsing to the ground. When she regained consciousness, she had no memory of what had happened. Miraculously, the front door swung open on its own, as if the unseen force had finally decided to let them go. They fled without looking back, but from that day on, Sarah was never the same. She began speaking in languages she had never learned, and started predicting events before they happened. One night, she turned to Ahmed and whispered, "The mirror wants you to return." Then, one night, Sarah vanished again. This time, she was never found. Layla and Ahmed tried to move on, but every night they would hear whispers in the corners of their rooms, as if something was still watching them. Years later, researchers uncovered records about house number 13. It had once belonged to a family that practiced dark rituals in the 19th century. The mirror had been a gateway, a portal meant to summon shadowy entities seeking human hosts. The family had been wiped out, but their last recorded entry described an entity known as the Black Shadow, a being that fed on human souls. Sarah had been its latest victim. Determined to uncover the truth and save Sarah, Layla and Ahmed returned to the location of house number 13. But when they arrived, the house was gone, as if it had never existed. All that remained was a single piece of the mirror's wooden frame, with an eerie inscription carved into it, "The night will come."